Welcome to I'll Marry You, a podcast with me, Olivia Coleman, full of tips and tricks from the UK wedding scene, interviews with industry experts, and a whole lot of oversharing. Good day and welcome to the show. I look very dishevelled because I've just been for a wonderfully early spring walk along the canal and coffee with some friends, which was just gorgeous. They both got babies the same age as Penelope, so we were like a mum tribe, which is a turn of phrase I really don't like, but that is what we were like, strutting along the canal with our prams. But it was wonderful because the sun's out, which is so nice, isn't it? It makes such a bloody difference. Although, do you know what I'm reminded of, actually? The other day I went for a walk with Cousin Elle, who will be back on the podcast soon, I promise. And I had Lola, my adorable nearly 5-year-old, and I had my newborn baby strapped to my boobs. And not literally, I didn't have my nip out. That would have caused attention. But then Cousin Al had his new dog, and because we were on a dog walk, in the sort of dog walking, you know, like a dogging site, if you will, everyone was looking at the dog, not at my baby. I mean, literally 15 people must have stopped to look at Alex's dog, but not one person commented on my human child. By the end of the walk, I thought, this is unacceptable. Next time we'll take his dog to mother care and see how he likes it. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, I hope you've all had a wonderful week. It's been non-stop for me. Half term was madness, 2 children to the pits, and I had meetings coming out my arse, which was really lovely, actually. And all the couples that I met with, all 3 of them had their children with them for the meeting, of varying ages, and they knew that I had to take Penelope, and they were absolutely fine with it. One of them even bought gifts. Like, they're brilliant. My couples are wonderful. But I still felt like that wasn't very professional. Do you know what I mean? Having my baby there. And this is like a personal thing. I'm just sharing with you now. I'm just asking for free therapy. But that's how I felt. And I walked away and I was like, oh, that wasn't ideal, but I can't do anything about it, can I? Because I'm meant to be on maternity leave. And also, as my husband pointed out, they don't have a problem with it. And if they did have a problem with it, then I'd have to cancel their wedding, because this is what it is. I've chosen not to cancel any weddings that I already had booked for this year. And so if that means that I have to go to meetings with the baby attached to me, then so be it. And apparently no one notices anyway, so it's fine. So this week, we have got the first part of an interview with an industry expert, the most gorgeous Jessie from Studio Sorores. I hope I said that right. We do discuss this in the interview. Producer Drew and I went over to her house in the Cotswolds before Christmas, and we had the most gorgeous time just chit-chatting away. She is a very talented, very wonderful wedding planner, an event stylist, an event planner. She does all sorts. And she just is wonderful and brilliant and inspiring and has great stories to tell. And she's been in the business quite a while, so she knows what she's on about. And we just get on like a house on fire. So I'm really excited for you to listen to the first part of the interview, and the second part will be next week. Also, on a note while I've got you, if you are watching the podcast on YouTube, producer Drew is having a little fun with the edits. So those random words and the zoom-ins and all that jazz, that is producer Drew. I don't know how to do that. I don't edit my own shit. I don't edit anything that comes out of my mouth. I do edit what goes into it. Enjoy the episode. Love ya. This is Jessie from Studio Sorores.
Sorores, yeah.
Sorores.
You said it right, yeah.
I've been so nervous about that. What does it mean?
It means sisters in Latin.
Huh.
Yeah. Actually, never used to be called that. I used to go by my own name, but then I got divorced, so that was weird.
What was your name when you went?
I was Jessie Thompson. And then
you were just Jessie Thompson?
Yeah, that
planner.
was... Yeah. And then also I thought that was a bit stupid that it was just me, because actually it's a bigger thing than just me. And then my sister joined the business because we did floristry for a bit. I don't know if you remember that, but we did floristry for a bit with wedding planning separately, but all under kind of the same banner. Yeah. Which was a learning curve, big time. And we then talked about kind of like the fact that it was a very female-led industry, and that we were sisters, and it was like a sisterhood of people we supported and we gave work to and employed. And so we thought, let's actually come up with a business name that's not my name, that's my ex-husband's name, which was weird. And then we came up with, Studio Sorores. And yeah, those who have studied Latin get it instantly.
I studied Latin.
There you are.
Bonus bonum.
Yeah,
that means good.
I actually didn't, which is hilarious.
I studied Latin in primary school.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that's sick.
That is.
I know, that's saying something, isn't
That's
it?
posh.
I
I'm quite posh.
was actually thinking on the way here, normally I'm the posh one, and I thought, because I have that empathetic thing where I adopt other people's
Oh, right.
like,
so you're just going to get
accents.
posher.
Yeah,
as this
basically.
goes
It's
on.
like when I'm drunk.
Yeah. Or
Do you get worse when you're drunk?
Oh, much worse. And on the telephone.
Well, James said to me, my husband, he doesn't listen to the podcast. He only listens to the episodes I do with my cousin because he loves him. And he said to me, or if he hears me on Instagram or something, he says, you just sound a bit posh. I'm like, yeah, but that's like my work voice.
Yeah.
That's like my...
Also, that's who I am.
Yeah. So you married me, babe.
Yeah.
So let's go back all the way back to the beginning.
Okay.
So where you didn't start in weddings?
I did not start.
Your business, your working life?
No.
What did you start in?
No, I actually studied law.
Really?
Yeah.
You're like Legally Blonde.
Yeah, or not, because I never
Clearly
qualified
not.
as a lawyer. But I did a law degree, and then before I went on to qualify, I thought to myself, I think I'm going to go and work, hopefully kind of within the legal sphere or probably finance, and get some money behind me before I go and do the next step. So I got offered a job at Bloomberg on their graduate scheme, and I got offered a job as an editorial assistant.
This is London?
Yeah, in London. Now it was Lloyd's of London Press. It's now Informer. May even be something else now.
Yeah.
But it was looking after the legal portfolio just as an editorial assistant, and it's a lot less money than Bloomberg were offering me. But I thought actually I might meet some really top lawyers and get myself sponsored. So I took that job on, and within about 6 months I was a commissioning editor, and within a year I was a senior commissioning editor. Within 2 years,
Sounds impressive. Is it impressive?
It was. I was vastly underpaid for quite a big job.
Yeah.
But I was literally having lunch with judges that I'd studied. It was insane.
That's cool.
But it kind of taught me that I didn't want to be a lawyer. They were genuinely never stopped working.
Yeah.
Totally. I'm sure it's different now, but back then it was like party, drunk.
Oh, really?
Still quite sexist, the whole industry.
But it's quite often, isn't that the way? The harder you work, the harder you play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I got headhunted then. By an academic publishing house in Gloucestershire, and so I thought, sod it, I'll go and do a bit more academic stuff, and maybe I miss learning, and I hated it. I mean, when I say I hated it,
oh really?
Yeah, no, I hated working with professors and academics. I just found that
because they were boring.
I worked in a professional, in the city place that was just unbelievable.
Go.
Yeah, and it was just like, we're still writing the manuscript. We're still writing it. I'm like, well, now it's not as hot as it was going to be, and my sales targets aren't going to be met. And it was also a family business, and I really did not enjoy that either, because there just felt like there was like a glass ceiling of family rather than women.
Oh, really?
So I just thought, actually, I ended up being doing consultation for them and teaching them like what I'd learned in the city so they could apply to their kind of publishing house to grow. And then I went, what am I going to do with my life?
So how old were you now?
My 20s.
15.
Yeah, 15.
It's ever so advanced.
I was early 20s. I guess about 24, 25. I thought, what am I good at? I quite like drinking and partying and socialising like every other person. I think I'd be good at PR. Right, I have no experience.
No,
PR.
okay.
None. But I had worked in publishing, so I'd done, I knew the ropes a little bit. I'd done a bit of schmoozing and boozing.
Yeah, sure.
And some idiot gave me a job.
So you had no experience at all?
None. And I went to like 5 different agencies going, I'd be great at this. And they were like, okay, what makes you think that? I'm like, well, just will be.
Come on.
I literally had no answers. And this very, very nice man at this PR company in Cheltenham decided I was definitely going to be good at the job, and gave me a job as a senior PR consultant. And he said, look, you're either going to sink or you're going to swim. Luckily for me, I did swim, and I absolutely loved it.
What kind of clients was it?
Really corporate. So everything from a company that did like recycling and sustainability, to forklift truck companies, to water companies.
I don't look at you and think forklift truck company.
No.
But you enjoyed it.
I loved it. It was like, everything had to be done yesterday. It was a lot of not being behind my desk, a lot of autonomy. I was writing articles for like the big broadsheets under the name of a director, and they literally given it a quick glance, and I made it all up. But I loved it. And then I did a course in event planning so that I could do like bigger events for our clients.
Yeah.
And that's when I sort of set up a little hobby doing private parties. And my boss was amazing because I didn't just do it without speaking to him. I said, look, I'm going to do it on the side. It's not going to get in the way of the day job.
And you're in Cheltenham now?
Yeah. He said, yeah, great. Like, as long as it doesn't interrupt, if you can bring us more clients as well, perfect. So that was kind of going well. And I'd got married at some point in the mix. Forgotten about that phase in my life.
You were young when you got married.
I've written that out of my story. I was really young,
Burnt that chapter.
So I was about 26, 27, when I got pregnant. And I then...
That's young.
Very young. And not really that planned.
Sure. That's such a nice way of saying totally unplanned.
Well, I mean...
Does your daughter listen to podcasts?
It wasn't totally unplanned, but it was just way sooner than I expected.
Yeah.
And that kind of made me think, right, what am I doing? And I just carried on doing this little party planning business when I was on maternity leave. And then my boss said, look, why don't you just freelance for us and we'll pay you an hourly rate and then you can have a bit more time to think about what you want to do. But
what a nice boss.
He was amazing. And he also asked me to come back as a director of the business at some point. And every now and then I still get an email from him saying,
Because if he had said absolutely not that first conversation, your life would have been completely different.
Yeah, well, I would have had to make the decisions I made sooner, probably. Yeah. But once that switch had clicked for me not having a full-time job, I just ramped up the business. So Flora was a baby and I was doing weddings, but a switch turned and that this could actually be something. And once that switch in my head had turned and my approach to the way I was doing business changed, I got inundated with inquiries. Like, I used to be, every inquiry I got, I would make a sale every single time, which told me I should charge more. But that's another story. But I then went to my boss, like, I can't freelance anymore. I'm too busy. I just can't. And I hate this whole, like, give up your day job. Just go and...
Follow your dreams.
Yeah, bollocks. Excuse my language. But at the end of the day, freelancing gave me the money I needed to really push into other areas and invest in different things and give me that safety net. The rest kind of happened naturally. So, I did. I gave up the PR stuff. And focused full-time on weddings and parties.
But that to me sounds like quite a leap because you've gone from like corporate-y, being employed by someone else, fast-paced, go, not that, quite creative, but less artsy, if you know what I mean. And you've gone from that to the total opposite.
Yeah, and I think I really missed, that's why I set up this little business, because I missed being creative. I was one of those deeply irritating children that was just one of those all-rounders. So I was good at art, I was good at music, I was good at drama.
Were you pretty or did you suffer physically?
No, I didn't really
suffer. There was nothing wrong with you, was there?
No, not really.
Were you bullied at any point?
No.
No, great.
No. Oh, well. I did, however, find the school report. It was so sweet. It was like, Jazz really struggles where to put her energy because she's doing so much. And then my own thing is like, I just don't know what to put my attention to and I feel stressed by everything.
Were you the captain of every sports team?
I was exactly, debating competitions.
Oh, I loved a debating competition. Yeah. I was so good at debating.
I won a county debating. Loved it. But I got pushed down the academic route because I could.
Yeah.
But I really missed using the creative side of my brain. And I think and actually, funnily enough, what I do now is a real mixture of being creative, but also very logistical and dealing with very corporate-like clients. And you do, I think, to do it well, have to have a bit of both. Because if you're very, very creative, you're not necessarily going to be able to do the logistics.
People sometimes struggle with the admin and all the rest of it. When you started doing party planning, what did that involve? Was it dinner parties?
No, I never did dinner parties. It would be larger. So I did like a 50th birthday party, a bigger anniversary party, like Barnsley House is one of the first venues I ever worked at.
Love it.
Which is gorgeous, amazing client. And weddings were always kind of the big one because I think that's where people spend a lot of money on a big party. So
yeah.
And then I do that and then I might do something else for their family.
Were you nervous when you first started?
No, I wasn't
really?
No, but I'd worked in all these careers where I'd just been thrown into the deep end constantly. So
and you couldn't be nervous? You kind of had to bullshit your way through a bit, I imagine.
And also, you're like, it's not like you're sitting behind a desk with time to worry about it. You're on site doing it, going, okay, well, this is how it goes. Fine.
And I find if you say anything with conviction, people will believe you.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. But also it was a bit like teaching grannies to suck eggs. I'd done, these big parties with loads more budget and loads more pressure.
Yeah.
This was just way more fun and way more creative and so much more jolly.
Yeah.
And people were much softer with me than my corporate clients. So in a way it was less pressured. But then there's no do-over, right? You get one chance to do it. And then I can't do a photo shoot another day. This is it.
I feel like it might have been totally different if you'd started more creative and then gone into corporate, but because you started with corporate.
Yeah. And as a result, I think now working at the level I'm doing weddings and private events at, I can deal with some really pushy high-end clients and represent the vendors that I'm working with, who are working with them, and my client at the same time really professionally. Doesn't faze me.
Yeah.
I've been used to dealing with that before. Whereas I think a lot of people who are very, very creative and can create the most beautiful things, confronted with that type of person,
quite sensitive to it.
Yeah. And understandably so. I mean, I've felt wobbly over the years in certain situations, but it definitely helps having had a corporate background, I think. But it's more, I think I've probably chosen all of the most stressful careers other than being a doctor or a nurse, something.
Sure, saving lives.
Yeah.
But you're making weddings happen.
Yeah.
You're making dreams come true.
No, but there was this list that was published of the top 10 highest stress jobs. Yeah, and I was done that. I think just
what was wedding planning not in there? Because I would
Yeah.
I would 100% put it in there.
I looked at it and went, all right, I just like to self-flagellate through my career. I'm a masochist.
I would say being a headmistress of a boarding house should be up there.
Oh, up there. Really up there.
And then heart surgeon,
my
whatever.
boarding school mistress, Mrs. Jeffries, she was stressed a lot.
I hated mine.
Not by me, of course. I was perfect.
I hated mine, but then I remember thinking if I was in charge of 60 girls, which probably too much information, but your cycles sync.
Yeah, you do, yeah.
So you've got 60 girls and their period at the same time.
Group angst. I know Mrs. Jeffries, we used to call her Jeffers.
Oh,
Jeffers.
God.
And,
I had a Mrs. Lafferty, we called her Laffers.
Of course.
We're really alienating. How much of our viewers do you think we're alienating right now, Drew? 40%?
More. Did you all have toast every day?
Yes! Tea and toast every break time.
Toast with butter and a bit of sugar if you're really spicy.
God, I love it.
Yeah. No, that would be a very high stress job, you're right. But I do feel like our industry, whoever you are in our industry, it is probably one of the most stressful.
Yeah, it is.
That you
the
could
pressure.
Be in. Yeah.
And people don't understand it unless you're in it.
They're like, oh, it must be so lovely.
Oh, you're like Jennifer Lopez in the
God,
wedding
isn't it
planner.
lovely just spending other people's money? I'm like, that's not what I do. Sorry, what?
Would your husband argue with that?
No.
So you went party planning and then you did some weddings. Do you remember your first wedding?
Yeah.
Did it go well?
Yeah. It was like a village hall barn. I'm friends with her now, the bride.
Really?
I'm friends with loads of my brides.
Yeah,
and
so
grooms,
am I.
but mostly brides. And there was an honesty bar. It was an honesty bar. And we had to, in fact, there's elements of the schedule we created together I use to this day, same thing. And we had babies, our second babies, about the same time as well.
Oh. Did you do any training though? Or you just
Yes, I did do a course.
Yeah.
I did. So before I set up the side part, the side business, I did a course in wedding and event planning. And genuinely, it was okay. The most thing it taught me was how to be getting professional insurance, getting your contracts right.
The admin, logistical, practical bollocks.
The running of a business type thing. And it made me put together a business plan, which I think a lot of people don't. They just launch. Whereas I actually did put a business plan together with all the figures and stats behind it. So I did do a course. It didn't really... I genuinely, I think if you've worked in hospitality and you've... when people come to me and they're like, oh, can we have some work experience with you? I always say, just go work for a catering.
Fuck off.
No. I don't say fuck off. I say go and work for a catering company. Go and work for a hotel.
Work from the ground up.
Go and do, just even if you do it over a summer in your spare time, you have to go and do the crappiest, hardest parts of the job first. You have to be in the hospitality industry, running around on your feet to learn the other side of it, to be able to manage it. You can't possibly understand the extent of the job until you are, the person that you're managing.
Awkwardly just sinking.
It's going lower and lower.
Stay.
Yeah, you tell it, Drew Bear.
Okay, I feel like it listened.
Do you get asked for that a lot, work experience?
Not really so much anymore. More people who
No,
want...
because you've now got a terrible reputation for
Tell them
refusing
piss
to take
off.
people on.
No, people don't actually. I feel like the industry's so changed. I used to get loads and loads. Honestly, I never ever did like, you can come and work for me for free. I never did that. I always pay people. And therefore I'm only going to pay you if you have, it doesn't have to be wedding planning experience, just something on your
Yeah.
CV that shows me that you're going to work hard and do the job. But it's more people who have their own businesses who want to freelance. That's much more common now. There are
Is
so
it?
many wedding planners. Yeah.
There are so many wedding
So
planners.
many. Like when I started, there was like 10 in the UK, and they were all like either very sort of suits and pearls or totally camp. And there was just no one that I was like, oh, do you want to just have a glass of wine and
Yeah.
have fun?
No one on your level.
No, not even that. Just someone, it was like a mumsy person, or like a super camp guy who was just over the top with everything. And there was just nothing else. That was it. And there was no Instagram. There was no Facebook. There was Facebook. There was no Instagram. There was no
What's
Twitter.
it, Bebo? MySpace?
Yeah, MySpace, yeah, but that's been and gone a little bit.
So Studio Sorores is 2010?
So I launched everything in 2010.
So was that then
and then we just changed the brand name.
Was that your floristry?
Studio Sorores, we bought the floristry in 2015, I want to say. Can't really remember. And that, I loved it, and that I was briefing them. I wasn't running the floristry team. It is such an art. I have so much respect for florists. It is physically unbelievably hard.
And
very
that's
early.
pressure.
Oh my God. I mean, because you are dealing with a fresh product that
Yeah.
you can't guarantee anything on. I mean, I saw it all, and I helped out on a few weddings where I did the floristry. I was really good at big installations. I was really terrible at like just a buttonhole. The smallest
Oh my
things
God,
are
I
the
cannot
hardest.
bear a
I
buttonhole.
hate them anyway. Get rid of them. That's my new trend prediction for 2025. No
You've
buttonholes.
heard it here first. No buttonholes.
boutonnieres. Get rid of them. No, the smaller things are harder, weirdly, than the big things. But it was fascinating. But during COVID, I mean, Brexit happened, which impacted the price of flowers and everything else.
Hugely.
Then COVID, we had this big studio space, which I missed dearly, but it was an expense. And a big team, you need a big team. And we weren't getting any income coming in. And obviously it was a difficult time for everybody. But in the end, two reasons. One, all of that meant that it just wasn't as profitable, and it just wasn't sensible. And we were going to put more effort into the planning and design side than flowers, and then why do it? But also my sister, who headed up the team, was getting this kind of calling during lockdown to go back into set design. And
fun.
She has done that, and she's now working on like ITV programs and Beyonce videos and all sorts of fabulous
Two
things.
of the very similar things.
Yeah.
That's very cool. So she doesn't work with you at all anymore?
No, she's gone back into doing that full time. So she's constantly traveling, filming, and it is as crazy as a music video 1 minute to a drama series to a movie. So
How fun. Because
Yeah.
it's different. Every day is different.
And she'll message me and she's like, "Can you send me a photo of the kids' school report?" I'm like, "Why? Are you suddenly interested in their education?" She's like, "No, I just need to know what one looks like because we're gonna have to reproduce one for the series we're doing." And I'm like,
How
so
funny.
cool, so cool. So yeah, she was very good at that stuff from a floral perspective. The big sort of visionary stuff. But yeah, it definitely was her calling, and that's what she studied. She studied interior architecture at university. So she's gone back to doing that, and we always did work with other florists. We were never exclusively doing just our flowers. But
is it just you? Even though you've changed it to Studio Sorores, not?
Yes, we've got a team.
Is it just you?
It's me that heads it
can
up
tell
full
me the
time.
truth. It is just
me
you.
for full time. And then we have Harriet. Do you know Harriet? Harriet?
Don't think so.
Okay, so Harriet works with me. She's amazing. And she's been with me for quite a few years now. And she's someone I met at the school gates. And she was a single mummy.
Does she have a child there, or was she just lurking?
Yeah, just lurking. She had two children. I was like, yeah, she's just another single mummy, and we met. And I've got a big thing about giving work opportunities to women, particularly women with children who need flexible working.
100%.
So I have loads of freelancers that work flexibly from home. So they don't have to come into an office. They don't have to work 9 to 5. Not a 9 to 5
As
job.
long as they get their work done, it doesn't matter if it's in the middle of the night or they're breastfeeding.
Exactly. And like, whatever, if they do it in the middle of the night and schedule their emails for the morning because my client sees it then, that's fine.
Yeah.
And some of them don't do anything else other than that. Some of them do other things, have jobs. And then I've got a bank of wedding planners who run their own businesses, not just in the UK, but kind of around the world, who are kind of my regulars who come on board. And the bigger the wedding, the bigger we scale the team. And I refer them work as well. And they're just people I very much trust and respect and who are just good at their job.
See, I'd never thought about that. I obviously knew that with florists, you'd bring in other florists. But I didn't ever think that you'd bring in other wedding planners.
Yeah.
And there's no weirdness. It's like, it's your job.
Yeah, well, I think because I've got a kind of team of people I've regularly used. And yeah, like I've really, really, really I've been doing it for a long time now, 15 years almost. But I've really got a loyal team who understand the way I work, and there's no egos.
Because they'd
involved
have
at
to
all.
have your vision.
Yeah, and they have to be on brand. They have to be able to work to the same. I have had people come and work for me, which is absolutely totally wrong. Don't have the right mental attitude. And I'm very hands-on. And I think a lot of people, when they first come and work for me, don't expect me to be. They're like, oh, we just thought you'd be sitting back somewhere, just kind of orchestrating things. I'm like, no,
Pointing.
Carrying an armchair.
Yeah.
I'm really hands-on, and probably because I'm just a bit of a control freak. But
I was going to say, are you a perfectionist?
yeah, but over the years, I have handed over the reins a bit more and a bit more and a bit more. And actually, this last year has been a really quiet year for the industry in general, but also for us more than usual. Although we don't ever stack them high, we don't do that anymore. But it has been a quieter year, a smaller year.
Yeah.
And so I was planning to take on more full-time staff this year just gone, but that's been delayed till next year. And we are already so busy for next year.
How far in advance?
I knew that was going to be the case. I had this feeling about it. It was like that COVID.
Peaks and troughs. The year after lockdown was just, the 2 years after lockdown.
It was crazy, and we all had PTSD. And then, also I just think that kind of gap of people not meeting during COVID. Then there was like cost of living crisis.
Well, do you think that's why this year was so quiet?
Yeah, I think it's just stuff. Yeah. And I've seen that
just life gets in the way.
Yeah, I mean, I started my business off the back of a recession. So there's always opportunity in these periods of dips. But I've been through so many. Whenever there's an election, whenever there's like something going on globally that is challenging for economies, whenever there is a huge global pandemic.
Yeah. All those times.
All those sort of things. Like, it definitely impacts. And it's not even just that people have got less money in their pockets. I deal at the luxury end of the sector, whatever that means. We can come to that later if you like. But, big
the rich stay rich.
The rich stay rich. But it's not cool to show off being rich when everybody's not feeling it. So if their staff and their employees are feeling the pinch and not being given pay rises, or
they can't be seen to pay for their daughters.
Yeah, they can't be like, my wedding's in vogue, and hello, and I've just spent £3 million. Like, it's just so, it's obtuse. So you do see people delay their plans. You do see people being more careful. And I think there is that a lot now with weddings. Like, you're seeing the ultra, ultra, ultra luxe stuff that gets published, and everyone's like, and in this country in particular, we're quite sensitive. And the Brits are quite sensitive.
Don't like to talk about money.
Don't like being vulgar.
No.
And so, yeah.
That's my thing, you see. I appear to be poor and badly dressed, but really, I just don't want to be vulgar.
Yeah.
That's why I drive a Qashqai.
Don't tell anyone.
Hello, everybody. Producer Drew here, jumping in to let you know that this podcast is sponsored by Filmed on Phones. With Filmed on Phones, your loved ones video your wedding on their phones, and their clips are edited into a fun highlights video by a professional video editor. Their platform makes it really simple. They let you assign videography tasks to selected specific guests who receive guidance on what to shoot and how to shoot it, and a link to upload their clips. The end result is an affordable, relaxed and fun wedding video made collaboratively with your family and friends that I wish existed when I got married. To find out more, listen to our episode where we spoke to Ollie from Filmed on Phones, or visit filmedonphones.com. Now back to the episode.
It's so true, though. It's so true. And even in the good years, people don't like, oh, just make it look like I threw it together. I don't want it to be so over the top.
I don't think we ever have, and I still don't think we do have that mentality, and I am totally generalising, where in America, it's all big and brash and in your face, whereas we've never...
No. And I have a lot of American clients, and they love that Britishness and that quiet luxury.
Really?
They love that. That kind of, like in homes, that kind of thrown together casually.
Understated glamour, understated elegance.
Yeah, that quiet luxury, that just... And they love it. They come to the UK or they come to Europe to get that. And they're very stylish people. My clients, of course, they're very stylish
course.
people. They genuinely are. I get a lot of interior designers, a lot of people who work in fashion, and they don't want that over the top.
But don't you find it annoying? Whenever I've had American clients in the last few years, they've all come bloody here. I'm like, I don't. Why are you coming to Chippenham? Because I get a lot
the
of
Brits are going abroad. The Brits are going abroad.
Yeah, that's true.
You
but
know,
if someone rings me up, I had a couple from Los Angeles, and I was like, no, I'll come to you.
Can I come to LA?
Yeah.
Yeah, but then you could be like, why don't? Oh no, you can't do that. But I'd be like, why don't we have a let me have like an engagement party in LA, and I'll come there and do that.
Ugh.
You don't get that upsell.
I'll do a rehearsal in New York and then come to England.
Yeah, we'll practice over there. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I love English weddings. I love them, other than the weather. But then Europe, you can't chase the weather around Europe either now.
No, you can't not anymore.
But I feel like Brits are going abroad, and everyone else is coming to the UK and Europe. But the UK is still a lot cheaper. Like the cost of a wedding.
Is it?
Yeah, the cost of a wedding in New York is like 4 times that.
No.
Yeah, 100%. If you want to go to the Hamptons or New York, like treble the price of everything.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, it's really expensive.
A friend of mine got married in Rhode Island.
Yeah.
And I think that was...
Was it nice?
Yeah, no, it was lovely. It was quite spenny. But the actual wedding itself was less time than the flight to get there. Because they start so late in the day, don't they, in America? Yeah. American weddings start like at 5 or 6 o'clock.
That's normal. That's now. Everyone's doing that here now.
Yeah, you're right.
I quite like it.
Is it called a twilight wedding?
I don't know.
Someone messaged me about something. I think it was twilight wedding. And she was like, what do you... I was like, I don't even know what that is.
Well, should I tell you the reason that it's...
Why you think?
Yeah. First of all, it gives you more time to sort of relax and not get up at 3 in the morning for your hair and makeup, which is very nice. Although bridal parties are now, that's the next thing to go. Gone. But anyway...
So many predictions.
Really, honestly, that like people are just not having big bridal parties.
No, I've noticed it more.
It's lovely because it's so much quieter and more easy for the bride and groom in the morning. But the other thing is, everyone wants black tie. And Debrett's hat on here. You must not have a black tie event before 5 o'clock.
What is?
That's not.
That's our caption, Drew.
That is.
That's our tagline. One must not black tie before 5 p.m.
100% not.
It's who made up this rule? The Queen.
I don't know. Someone in ancient times.
When they spoke Latin. My
little boy says that when he was little.
In ancient times.
In ancient times.
Oh, I've not heard that one.
In ancient times, no. Yeah, no, it's a rule.
I do love a black tie wedding.
And because that's like the fashion, and then they look it up, they're like, oh, we have to have an evening. And honestly, most like Americans know these facts. They know this. They brought it over as well.
Yes, they're big on black tie weddings.
But if you have a daytime in this country, normally, you have morning suits, and then you might change to black tie for an evening. White tie, different again. Of course. It's another thing I hate. This is
like a whole different take on weddings, though. You're aware of this?
Is it? It's just rules, like, and you don't ever wear...
What's the rule with white tie? Are we allowed to say black tie and white tie?
Yeah, that's allowed, because they're two different things.
Right.
So you wouldn't wear a white tux unless you're in a hot country. And then, but like white tie...
Or an attractive homosexual Italian man.
So the difference between white tux and white tie. So white tux, which is black tie but with a white tux.
Hang on. White tux is black tie with a white...
Yeah, so you wear like a white tuxedo, but everything else is kind of black tie.
No, that I like.
Lovely, but you would only do that in a hot country.
Right, okay.
Okay, you wouldn't do that in winter in the UK.
No.
It would be not very cool. You could wear, a colour, navy blue, fine.
Yeah.
Tie is completely different. That's when you have them longer and you have the white gloves and tiaras. And that's really royal.
That to me sounds like Monaco royalty. That's a bit sound
You're not
music-y.
going to do that for your wedding. You're not.
Have you never done a white tie wedding?
No.
You've not lived.
I would say no. You're not royalty.
What if they are?
Then I would, obviously.
How many NDAs?
But I don't think they would. It's not that cool.
How many NDAs have you had to sign?
Loads.
Do you not just tell everyone everything anyway?
No.
Oh, aren't you good?
Yeah, I am really good like that. Yeah, and sometimes it's really hard to sit on that information. Really hard.
I've only had one wedding. Well, I've had one where I should have been made to sign an NDA and I didn't, so I had to tell everyone everything. And then I had one where they forgot to give me the NDA.
Oh, perfect, yeah. I had one where they forgot to give me the NDA and they turned out to be horrible bastards. And I'm happy saying it live.
So you've told everyone?
Literally.
Were they famous or
No, they weren't
rich?
famous. They supposedly had famous people who were coming to their wedding, but they never appeared. Well, no. He's currently in prison on fraud charges, so... They were just awful. They were just not very nice people, and they didn't. And I actually never spoke publicly about it because I just think it's a bit tacky. But most of my clients don't make me sign an NDA because there's famous people. I don't do celebrities. I'm not interested. They never have any money. They want everything for free.
Yeah. Well, they're used to getting it for free.
It's because they're business people, or they're people that, they don't want their name or anything, pictures being online with their face and their name. So they're often happy for details to be like detail shots.
Yeah.
Or even the face, as long as no name's associated with it, or like the back of their heads.
And that's probably a part of that showing off your wealth thing as well.
Yeah. Or just, because like this person wasn't particularly nice business person.
I want people to sign NDAs for me. Just if I get pissed at the pub and then be like, oh, sorry,
just go when you go into the pub.
Yeah.
Just put a little form out.
Can you sign a little
Sorry, hi.
to each table?
Excuse me.
So,
no photos.
Because you would call yourself in the luxe.
What is luxury? I
Cashmere.
Yeah.
Buying your milk from Marks and Spencer's.
Yeah, like little luxuries.
Those little chocolates that are like shells. Guerlain.
I don't know.
That not luxury?
No, that's like in the 80s. You've been watching too much Rivals.
I have been watching too much Rivals.
You're like, is it Baby Sham? No.
Yeah. Baby Sham.
No. I just think it's about budget. I don't think it's about luxury or not, because I would say that I bring a sense of luxury to any wedding I do. I typically deal with higher budgets than the average. And there is like the ultra luxury that I don't particularly get involved in. Every now and then I get one, but it's not what I'm after. I don't center myself around that. I very much try and get what I put out there.
Yeah.
So I want someone who's similar to me, who's got the same sense of style, who likes a certain aesthetic, who cares about the details and the storytelling and the quality of things above the quantity of things. So, typically our lowest budget that we would probably work with is around about £150,000 for full planning.
And that's that's just for your pay, or that's for the wedding?
That's for the
budget?
Wedding. That's for the wedding. And then like the top level, we've done up to like 5 million. So there's a big gap. But we're not snobby like that. I've got absolutely no problem dealing with, in my terms, a smaller budget. If my fee's paid, we've got the team. We definitely have bespoke services so that it's not full planning for every client. You can access hourly support with us. I really hate this kind of like, oh, you can't work with us if you don't have a budget. It doesn't sit well with me. I think everyone deserves to have the best support they can afford. Yeah. So we've tried to do that where we offer different services for different levels, but full planning is really expensive, full planning and design.
When you get an inquiry from someone that probably, because your prices aren't on your website, are they?
Yeah, they're on our brochure. I've downloaded a brochure.
Okay. Yeah, I did notice that, and I thought that's a craft little thing. Download the brochure, then you've got their contact information.
Sign up.
I know.
And I'll be in your inbox.
You're flashing at me. I'm going to sign up.
Yeah.
So if you get an inquiry from someone who's a really lovely person who wants to get married and wants you, because they've been following you on Instagram for years and years.
Yeah.
But their budgets, the average budget of a UK wedding is 28,000.
Yeah, I know. I don't believe that though. I think it's rubbish.
Well, I think they probably don't take into consideration the larger budgets, so it's a bit more...
because they're a smaller percentage. I mean, look, I'm dealing with the top 5%, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, it is crazy. However, I also think those figures are very old. And I know from the work I did during the pandemic with the government, the figures that are banded about are so old. And no real research has been done into our industry. It's based off like one magazine did a study, one online directory did a poll. Well, you're only going to be speaking to the people in your directory. But
she asked the village.
I mean, I know the average cost of things, and just like the cost of food has gone up.
Yeah.
The cost of materials has gone up. The cost of flowers has gone up. The cost of staffing and the wages that you're going to pay have gone up. Like the heating and electricity and your business rates, everything's gone up. So I think that people see those figures and then think they can do a sort of 150 person wedding at a country house, and you can't. I mean, that's your food bill. I find it interesting when they are shocked about how much weddings cost.
Yeah.
They
are shocked. I mean, they say, oh my God, the flowers are thousands, or this is this. And I find, but then I think that's just because we're in the industry.
Yeah, because they'd easily spend $5,000 on a blind. They would, in their house. Or they go...
a window treatment.
Yeah, exactly. Or, it's interesting because they'll go...
People put their money where they put their money. See, my dad would spend £1,000 on one single tyre for his car.
Yeah.
But he wouldn't spend 20 quid on a T-shirt.
Exactly. Different people's priorities,
Isn't it
right?
funny?
And look, you don't have to do anything. You can go to a registry office, you can go to the pub
Yeah.
and be done with it.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to have a big wedding. I just think that there's a big gap between people's budgets and people's expectations based on what they see
Yeah.
and what they want. And there's this notion that everyone in the wedding industry is pushing them to have these bigger weddings. It's like, nah, whatever, go and do your DIY wedding. Like, I'll come, it'll be fun.
But do you know what I think's partially to blame for that is social media and Pinterest.
Yeah.
Because people look at it. When I used to work at a venue, people would bring me their Pinterest pictures and be like, I want that.
Yeah.
I'd be like, sweetheart, that's in California.
Yeah.
It's a photo shoot. It's not real. It costs thousands.
Yeah.
You're not going to have that in a barn in England.
Exactly. And, you know, I have clients who show me, I mean, I do one-to-one consultations, which is an hour that you can book and basically ask me anything. And I say,
Exciting.
I have a little questionnaire, and then, you know, upload your stuff here. And then they send it to me and they go, right, how do I achieve this? And first thing, I'm like, that's a £5 million wedding. What do you, like, just get off.
Because they don't have any idea.
Yeah, get off Pinterest, and then we spend like a good hour just, what's your story? What are your likes and dislikes? Where's the most value going to be in your styling? What's going to feel good for you and your guests above what look, yes, okay, things look pretty on my Instagram, you know, or on my online portfolio. But actually what I'm most proud of is that my weddings that I curate and create for my clients feel amazing. And you can't get that online.
And you can't describe that either.
No.
And you can't sell it. If someone came to you and said, Jessie, why should I have you? It's very hard to say, well, because I make them feel.
Yeah. If you could scratch and sniff, and like even a video that doesn't really show it.
I often scratch and sniff.
Do you?
Yeah.
Scratch and sniff
I'm
my
a mother.
Instagram. You know, like you want it to be more experiential, but you can't. But when I do those one-to-ones with people on a budget, it's like a weight has been lifted off them, and they have this plan in just an hour that they can go, and it's going to be in budget, but it's still going to be beautiful and meaningful and amazing, and not, you know, have them get into debt or overspend just to create a look they've seen somewhere else. That's not them. It's not them anyway.
That I can't bear, when people have put so much pressure on themselves to create a wedding that actually, if a couple would come to me and say, I want to get married in a castle, and I want white swans, I would say, do you live in a castle? Do you own white swans? No. Then why the fuck? Like, why? Like, no one...
Yeah.
If it's not you, it should represent who you are.
Yeah, I always feel like your wedding should be like an elevated version of you.
100%.
Just an elevated version of you.
Yeah.
And I think that, far too often, and that's fine to do a big country house because you want all your friends to come out and you want to live the dream of, you know, Bridgerton or whatever it is you want, but find a way to make it you, even if you're kind of cosplaying something slightly. Like, there's so many easy ways to do it and to be authentic. And for me, I think that's just what gets missed a little bit. And what I hate most is the vanillaization of this and of the weddings. If I see one more wedding that looks just like another wedding, like when I started,
do you ever use Hessian?
No, it smells.
Hessian
I
burlap.
I have done.
Yeah, I know.
It smells, as does baby's breath.
Oh,
it smells
God, it smells like, yes, it does.
And also quite toxic to children.
Oh.
Yeah, but I have clients who love it and want to use it, and fine.
Bunting.
Outside only. Bunting. I loved bunting back in the day, and jam jars.
Chair covers.
Chair covers have never been in my life. No.
I can't bear. They just make me think of a condom.
Just hire in a chair for the same price. Just hire in a chair you
Just
like.
get a better chair.
Yeah, for the same price. And it's more that I just feel like there's a certain look that people think they should have.
Yeah.
And when I started out, it was like,
what should a wedding look like?
Yeah, but there was like groundbreaking stuff happening. And I remember pushing myself out so far into these crazy ideas and concepts. Like editorial and style shoots were about pushing the boundaries, like a fashion shoot, like you see in a magazine. And then the real one would, of course, you wouldn't have like 1,000 oyster shells in the middle of a table. That's mental. But like your styled shoot would be, you know, pushing the boundaries to keep things creative, and then elements of it might creep in.
Yeah.
But now it's like, okay, you have to have this, you have to have this, you have to have this, and this is what luxury is. And like that kind of personality of your client just doesn't come through a lot of the time.
I find that a lot of couples are planning a wedding to impress the guests rather than to be true to sort of who they are and what they want.
I think that they are, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that putting the guests at the centre of it is a really great way to create an amazing wedding, is to put guests at the heart of it, but not impressing guests by like...
But making sure they have a good time.
By that as an amazing flower. But the overall thing. So for me, like the greatest compliment you could give me if you attended one of my weddings is if I said to you, oh, what was your favourite thing about the wedding? And you went, oh God, I don't know. It was just all so amazing. And that for me...
Oh, really?
So the music was great, the food was
Everything
great.
comes together.
It smelt great, it felt great. Like all your senses were delighted. It flowed. You weren't hanging about waiting for anything. Everything that was funny. The speeches were well managed. You know, there was always a drink. There was no queue for the loo. The staff were on it. You know, that for me is what putting the guests at the heart of it. I just feel like sometimes all of the effort goes into visual and not all of those other things. And all of the budget goes into visual and not those other things. Even with big budgets, this happens. And you have to be able to spread your budget equally amongst all those things. And yeah, prioritize obviously where your own priorities are. Some people that's food, some people that's music, but ideally kind of don't scrimp on any of it. And far too many people will like have the most beautiful looking something for their socials that as a guest was like, just felt really awkward. Or
So when you have your 1 hour consultations that anyone can sign up for, I assume, I wouldn't know how to fit it all into 1 hour. So if I come to you and I say, where do I even begin?
Yeah, so it depends. So if you're, and also I'm very upfront, I sort of asked about what budget you're working with and what kind of level of support you want.
Because there's no point recommending a venue that they can't afford.
No, exactly. But so if you were definitely wanting full wedding planning, you definitely had the budget that, I mean, for some people, I'm like, you don't need full wedding planning. I'm going to take too much for a budget. It's not going to be good value. You should do something different. I can give you other options. So I will have a consultation initially. Some people will do an hour and be able to get on with it.
Yeah.
Other people will say, can we book like an hour once a month or once a week until we get our head around it?
That's a good idea.
Other people will do kind of a bespoke service. So they'll be like, right, we're going to book you in to do our design planning and then maybe the final production. And then we're going to do an hour a month and see how we get on. 9 times out of 10, those people end up booking full planning because it just ends up being better value. But I'm not going to shoehorn someone into that if they're not ready or they think they can take on some of it. But for some people, that's genuinely enough. And they just need some guidance. So we have like a virtual design planning service where literally I design your entire wedding with all of this detail, with a little black book of all the suppliers and a shopping list, and off you go. You do the rest.
Oh, I love that.
So I genuinely,
You're not hoodwinking.
I made this conscious decision that I was going to work with bigger budgets because I wanted to not be doing 25 weddings a year and, exhausting myself.
How many do you do?
Oh, 5 to 10 maximum.
Okay.
Maximum. If I can do less, I will. Or I have to do less because sometimes like one wedding will be like 5-6 events. So it's not always possible. Yeah. But yeah, I always wanted to still work because some of my best weddings, some of my most fun, meaningful, amazing weddings with people I'm still friends with have been lower budgets. So I didn't want to alienate them. I'm not going to underprice myself to still be able to support those people, but I'm going to come up with something that means they get access to kind of that level of expertise, that kind of aesthetic and that design, that look that they like about what I do, that's affordable. And that means that actually their money can be better spent on things that they get better value for. If you're somebody with a much larger budget, much bigger production plans, much more to manage, and you're very time poor and you've got busy lives, obviously then having a full planner is going to be the best value and the best level. But if you're not and you're happy to take things on and you just want a bit of help along the way, then yeah.
How would you argue that you need a wedding planner? Because I always encourage people to have a wedding planner.
Yeah.
But what I do say is that anyone getting married at home absolutely must have an on-the-day coordinator at the very least, if not a wedding planner. And I always say if you're getting married abroad, you need a wedding planner.
Yeah.
But people do argue it. And I just do it myself. It's not that hard.
That's the bit they're wrong about.
Sorry, boss. Oh, it's lowered.
Rubbing yourself.
Am I rubbing my tit?
You want me to hire mine?
I'll start lactating if I rub my tit with the microphone.
I think you can do it yourself. I don't think you need a wedding planner. I think that's rubbish. However,
you think it's a luxury to have a wedding planner?
It's definitely a luxury. However, it is not easy.
No.
I mean, at least 500 hours goes into a full planning wedding across the team. So I might have a concierge. I've got like concierge people that work with me. I might have somebody working on certain design elements. You know, it is a huge full-time job, full-time. And most people are busy in lives and work and back in the day, like mums would plan it with their daughters and nobody worked and you just sit around and it was lovely. We all have jobs. A lot of us have kids before we get married now. And also I think, we have these social lives. We're a bit older. We've got a lot of friends. We're busy. We're just busy. So I think it is a lot to undertake and I think it's a huge amount of hard work. But you can definitely do it yourself. I would just always, like anything in life really, Like if you're
Ask for help.
Yeah, prioritize the things that are good for you. So if you are a mum and you work and you have a house and like you need either a nanny or a cleaner or something to be able to do your day job. Or you can't do all the things at once.
No.
And it's a bit
you can't do everything all the time for everyone.
Yeah, it's a bit like that with weddings. So if you don't have the budget to have a full planner and that's what you'd like, but you could afford to have some partial planning, then try and do that. It's a really important part of getting married, is the journey before the big day. And like all my clients are like, oh my God, we're going to miss wedding planning. We loved it so much. And like, how often do you hear people say, I loved it?
Yeah.
Because it's stressful.
It's so stressful.
When you've got a planner, it's just fun. It's really good fun.
Do you find it more stressful the bigger the budget?
That doesn't really track. Can be. It's more work. It's not necessarily more stressful. I think sometimes when you're on a really tight budget, like when I first started out, it's way more work trying to make like a small budget wedding happen amazingly. When you've got the money to get the right people in there, that becomes a bit different, but then they've got different expectations.
So this week's RSVP is a DM from the gorgeous Dani, D-A-N-I, so I'm assuming Daniela. She says, hi, Olivia, love your podcast. I'm getting married in 2027. Good girl. Very planning ahead, isn't it? And she says, my issue is at the moment that he and his sister and I do not get on. Oh dear. I really struggle with her, and I know she struggles with me too. By 2027, this could change, but as we're looking at hiring the venue and the invites and all the numbers and blah, 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 do I invite her or don't I? Okay, that's a lot. Oh, I don't know. I think it depends what your partner says, her brother. I feel like you shouldn't have anyone at your wedding you don't want there, but also it is his sister. And like you say yourself, you might be besties by 2027. I'm not going to help you because I can't. Because I don't know what to say to that one. Hold off. You don't have to, if it's just her and maybe one other, even if it's a family of 4 that she's in, you don't have to know exact numbers yet. So I would hold off. I would wait as long as possible to make that decision. She will assume, I'm sure, that she's invited. So let her assume. Because to assume makes an ass out of you and me. One of my favourite quotes, and I never get to use it. I would say I hope that helps, but I don't think it does. But if you would like any help or you want to share any stories, then just slide into the old DMs for the RSVP section. What fun. See you next Tuesday.
Thank you so much for listening. It really does mean the world. If you find this podcast even remotely helpful or moderately entertaining, share with all your friends and family. You can DM me any questions, queries, if you want to share any stories on the podcast Instagram at I'll Marry You Podcast. Get in touch. I want to hear all your tall tales. See you soon.
I'll Marry You is a podcast by Olivia Coleman. The music is Mr. Sunnyface by Wayne Jones, and the show is produced and edited by Drew Toynbee.